In this video, if you're looking to get a high ticket sales job or you're a beginner, I'm going to tell you why most people that get a high ticket sales job are never going to make 10K a month. Most people are not going to do that. So what is the difference between the people that do go on to make really good money and the people that don't? First of all, let's talk about how people find out about high ticket sales. Typically 100% of the time, that's going to be through social media. That's where they see this, either on YouTube, Instagram, things like this. And on social media, there's all these wild claims, right? And bold like promises that are being made to you. You're going to make $20,000 a month as a closer, jump in. And yes, that is 100% true. But what happens is when people get into this, if they don't land like a $10,000 a month sales role in their first job immediately, they think that that is some kind of failure. But what happened is the specific job that you got into was a failure, not high ticket sales as a whole, not your opportunity to make a lot of money. And to go even deeper than that, sometimes that job wasn't even a failure at all. If these same people had just stayed in that role for like 3 to 4 months, they would have hit $10,000 a month going forward. But they don't. They give up too soon. This is a typical example that happens to people who quote unquote fail at this. If you come into this and you land a job and you end up making, let's say, I don't know, something middle of the road, $4,000 to $5,000 a month in that role, or you even get in there and you're only making like $2,000 a month consistently, I still don't consider that to be a failure. And this is why. One is going to be any sales role is going to have ramp time. Anyone that's done sales before knows that. That's fucking obvious. All right. So when you come into a sales job in your first week, you're never going to knock it out of the park. Because you have to learn a product, you got to learn a sales process, a script, all of these things. But in high ticket sales, when you get into any of these roles, you're going to have ramp time, all right? So that means you're going to make a much lower amount at first, and then you can jump up to $10,000 a month consistently. That's going to happen all the time. You're not going to start at the top. There's going to be a few months where you have to ramp up to that 10K, to that 15K. That's just normal. Or a second scenario could be maybe it was just a bad job altogether. And it turned out that it was just a shitty business and you were never going to be able to make that 10K a month. As long as the business that you are selling for is legit, all right, and the business has their shit together, as long as these boxes are checked, you will get to 10K a month and much higher many times. But people get on a job and if they don't hit 10K a month right away, they immediately quit and give up. Now, which of these situations applies to if you've had one of these bad experiences, whichever one of those I just described, it's not important. Maybe you did quit that job too soon and it would have been a good job where you could have made a lot of money and you would have got to 10, 20K and beyond. Or maybe it was a bad job. The business sucked and you never would have gotten there. It doesn't really matter because both of these things can happen. They happen all the time. But what is important is what you're going to do next. This is going to be the punchline of the video. In high ticket sales, all of the successful closers that I know personally, all of them have been on multiple offers. So every single one of them has sold for multiple businesses. I cannot think of an example of any of the closers I know who are making like 20K, 30K, 15K, 40K, 18K, all of these people I know that are making really good money. I cannot think of one person that is with the first business that they started with. None, okay? I rarely meet a closer who's doing 20K a month or even like 15K a month that's his first offer, that is the very first business that he started with and he's been with them the entire time. I can't think of any examples. So what closers like that will do is this. They will get into this. And when they started their first job, and let's say in that first job, they only made like $2,000 to $3,000 a month in that role. And the business wasn't that great either. What they ended up doing is keeping that job for a few months. And while they were working that shitty job, they were just looking for other closer roles at the same time. So while they're getting that experience, they're still taking sales calls every day in the high ticket space. They're getting some money coming in. It may not be what they want, but at least some money is coming in and they're getting experience and building up their skills. So what they didn't do is they didn't get in there and after like a week or 2 weeks throw up their hands and throw a temper tantrum like a baby and get discouraged and quit or cry and get emotional. They just said, okay, this job is not what I thought it was going to be. I had higher expectations for this job in this business, but turns out that this one sucks. But at least I'm on calls and I'm getting experience and I'm getting some cash flow coming in. That was their mind frame, their perspective. So they think things like, I'll just do this job well until I find the next one, until I do find the really good opportunity. I know that high ticket sales is legit and there's tons of good closer jobs out there. And there's tons of other closers that are making sick money. So if they can do it, I can definitely do it. So I'm just going to keep looking until I find one of these really sick roles that's going to allow me to make that 15, 20K a month and beyond. And then because these closers, right, they're already in a job and they have some experience. Even if the business sucks, they're still getting experience that they can use later. And they can tell other businesses and better offers, hey, I do have experience doing this, and that allows them to make more money later and get those good jobs. Whether that is going to be in the next job or the third one, it doesn't matter. But the point is this, all of these people that I'm talking about that I know personally who went through a path or a journey like this to get to the money, they are now making insane amounts of money doing high ticket sales. That's what you are trying to do, and they are doing it. They are doing it. It's happening in their life right now. They're stacking money in remote sales. And all they did differently was they didn't shit their pants when their first job wasn't this like life-changing amount of money that just fell out of the sky into their lap in month one. The internet has just warped people's expectations and their minds. And this is what I see happen with lots of people that are trying to get into this all the time, is they get into this and within like the first month or two, if they don't hit 10K, they just quit and give up. They're just done. They just think, oh, well, you should get into high ticket sales and in 2 weeks I should be making $10,000. Rarely happens, if ever. After a few months in a good job, yeah, that's extremely common. 3 to 6 months in a good job and you should be able to hit that 10K a month consistently and higher. But people just cannot get it through their minds. Oh, well, maybe for a few months, I might have to make a less amount of money. This is sales after all. And worst case scenario, I might actually have to sell for a few businesses before I get there. Like, that's some huge fucking end of the world disaster or something. Like you can't wait a year to be making well over $200,000 from home, you know? Like, oh no, the very first job I got on didn't change my entire life in 2 months. This is a total fucking fantasy and I'm just going to cry on the internet for the next 10 years and give up. Maybe this will help you with some context. When I show this opportunity to when I show high ticket sales to adults, like older adults that I know who've worked real jobs for like decades, and I show them how much money you can make after just like 6 months of work, they're like, what? That's no way. They don't believe me. They're like, nah, you're full of shit. No way. That's way too easy. They all say the same thing. That's way too easy. Like way too good to be true. I'm like, yep, that's the internet. That's real, you know? But for most people, their mind is warped. They're like, oh, well, I have to work for a few months to get to $10,000 a month. I don't want to do that. That's a scam. It's crazy. This is what I see all the time. And that's why many people who get into this do not hit that number because they can't work hard up front for a few months and make a less amount. The social media content is just imprinted on their mind that it's going to be easy and they're going to make 10K in a week and none of this is real. That should just be obvious. But I can tell you from experience, this is not hard to do. You just have to work hard and stay consistent for a objectively short period of time. But people don't do that because they don't have any work ethic. They're just very entitled and they expect everything to be the push of a button. Like, give it to me now or I'm going to start crying. So if this has happened to you, or if this does happen to you in the future, this is what you need to do. If you're on a job that has turned out to not be great and you're not making 10K a month, what you need to do is ask yourself these questions. Am I getting consistent sales calls every day that people are showing up to? That at least a good amount of the people that schedule calls are showing up. And then 2, you need to ask, does this product or service that I'm selling, is it getting people good results? All right? If the answer to these 2 questions is yes, you just need to stick in there for a few months. All right? You have not been there long enough. All right? Now, If the answer to these questions is no, then you need to figure out, okay, if I'm not getting consistent sales calls, this is the problem. Like right away, it's right in front of your face, right? And if the product or service is bad, you need to go and sell another. That's probably part of the reason as well. Like lots of people are not going to buy a bad product. So these are 2 questions that you could ask right now and you could get to the bottom of your situation. It's so easy. So if you just got into a bad job, let's just say it's a bad job, you're not getting calls and the product sucks. You can either move on and search for the next job, or you can stay in there and take the calls that are getting scheduled and keep on getting some experience and just search for a better job on the side. People have been doing this since the beginning of time, like looking for a better job on the side. But for some reason, the people who come through as internet traffic can't even work a mediocre, pretty damn good job for like a week without like quitting and screaming and being like, oh, this is too hard and shit. It's crazy. Where do you people come from? What you need to do is take a step back, all right? And look at it through this lens. Look at it through this frame of mind. There are tons of people who are making insane amounts of money as a high-ticket closer, which means I can do it too. So if I'm not making that kind of money, either I am the problem or this specific job I am in is the problem. There's no other choices, okay? And you could say, just because this one job didn't work out, doesn't mean the next one isn't going to be amazing, all right? So this is how you need to think of stuff. And even if you search for months for that first job, at least now you have the compounded effort and experience of outreach, of searching for these good high-ticket sales roles, and you've got that under your belt, which means it's going to be even easier to find the next one. Now, for more context on this, on working hard and perseverance, I'm going to tell you a little story. I have a family friend. He and my dad went to college together. They played tennis together in college. But my dad's friend is worth like a ton of money. I think it's like $100 million right now. I've told this story in videos before. But he did all this through building up like brick and mortar businesses, like home service businesses, pest control, things like this. And no one in my family has like a lot of money. So whenever this guy would come around and he would come to see my dad, I would always like pepper him with questions about money and business and getting rich. And what he eventually told me is it took him like over 5 years of trying and failing at different businesses to get something to work, basically. Like he tried all types of shit. He didn't have the internet, you know? He didn't have all this information at his fingertips. He just had to pick something and be like, all right, I'm just going to try this. Hopefully it'll work, right? So for 5 years, he failed at all different kinds of businesses before he ever got the first one to work and be profitable. So 5 straight years of trying and failing, and he just never gave up. He didn't get discouraged. And now he's worth like a colossal amount of money. He's stupid rich. That is so much money, I can't even like fathom it. But what if he had done what most people do when they try to get into high ticket sales? Oh, well, my first job didn't work out, you know? This is too hard. I give up. What if he'd done that shit after like a month, you know? He wouldn't be where he is today. So sometimes it helps to just have perspective on things. Like there are other people out here who will work like a dog at something for like years and years and still have a smile on their face every day and just be like, it'll happen one day. And then you have droves of people that are trying to get into this who can't even work at something for like a couple of weeks, bro. Like I want to study these 2 different people's brains. What is the difference? I'm convinced it's social media and brain rot is why these people can't do anything. That's my theory. But still, you just need some perspective, all right? Like, you can work hard and you can succeed at this very easily. This is not hard to do. So if you can't stick out like a job or 2, you are the problem. Now, some final encouragement. There are people who are creating new businesses every day in the internet space. So you are never going to run out of good opportunities or good jobs to find in the high ticket space. This right now is an insanely, criminally good opportunity. But you're going to have to make it through the start. That's going to be the hardest part. Will you land a $10,000 a month sales role in your first job? Hit that in the first 3 months and be good? Sure, I'm sure that happens all the time. That's extremely common. But what's also common are the scenarios that I described earlier. Maybe the first job you get into isn't the best. This is common. So you just get a few months of experience in that mediocre job, and then you can jump to a better one, and then 6 to 12 months later, now you're making $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And then 1 or 2 years from now, you're making $20,000 a month. And you're doing it at home with a ton of freedom, flexibility, and freedom, building an insane skill that no one can take from you that will benefit you for life. How is that not a fantastic opportunity? You see, to come into this with like a non-entitled attitude. Think this is a great opportunity. This has been verified because there's tons of people doing this. So I just need to work hard until I can find one of those good roles. And if it's not the first one I land in, that's all right, because the next one will be. That's the end of the video. If you want my help getting a closer role or a setter role, go to the links in the description. Until next time.